What's up everybody, it's Sean here and I'm super excited to give you guys my review of the all-new New Balance Abzorb 2000 in the Stillwater and Blue Agate colorway. This is a brand new silhouette from New Balance coming out of their lifestyle division, and it's appropriately named the Abzorb 2000 because not only does it showcase the Abzorb technology that's made New Balance famous, but it's also a callback to that Y2K design style, where 25 years later it sort of looks retro but in a futuristic way. So these drop on June 12th for $170 US or $220 here in Canada. The style code for this shoe is U2000PBB, and like I mentioned, the colorway is Stillwater and Blue Agate. So the reception behind the shoe, at least from what I've seen on Instagram and on Reddit, has been pretty polarizing. There's been a lot of people that just really hate the design of this shoe, and at the same time, there's a lot of curious New Balance fans that want to give this shoe a try. So I'm the camp where I thought the design was pretty dope. It has obviously a very futuristic look to it, and I was very curious to see how the fit and the comfort was. So without further ado, jumping right into the details, you'll see how the majority of the upper is crafted out of a blue colored mesh. So this is a very tightly wound mesh. There's no actual exposed holes on this whatsoever. And then overlaid on top of this, we have a bunch of synthetic overlays with screen printed details on it. So this is done in a mix of white, light blue, and darker blue. And it covers both the medial side of the toe box as well as wrapping around the bottom edge. Covering the eyelets, we have more of these synthetic overlays. And then underneath this on the mid panel, we have this large and chunky New Balance end logo. This is done in this reflective silver finish with blue and white on the edges. Underneath this, we have more of that blue colored mesh. And then when you compare this to the medial side, on this side, we don't have a New Balance end logo, so we just have a larger patch of exposed mesh. Moving further down, we have more synthetic overlays done in that same multi-blue tones. Surrounding the top portion of the ankle collar area, we have more blue mesh, and then covering the center of the heel, we have this textured synthetic white leather, and on the top, we have the silver New Balance logo. As far as the laces go, this pair only comes with one lace option, and they're an oval-shaped white colored lace. Underneath this, we have a white colored mesh tongue. We have a synthetic leather overlay covering the top half with 2000 branding running down the center, and then the very top of the tongue is covered in blue mesh with the silver New Balance logo. The back of the tongue and the interior of the shoe, this is covered in a white colored mesh. And then for the insoles, these come with a decently padded foam lined insole. It's finished in this white mesh on top, and we have New Balance and Abzorb 2000 branding pressed onto the heel. So the midsole of the shoe obviously is the star of the show, and this is what I was very curious about. So the midsole here is crafted out of a mix of Abzorb, which is one of New Balance's most used technologies, along with Abzorb SBS, which is more of a gel-like technology, which helps with impact protection and shock absorption. So the midsole utilizes these Abzorb SBS pods, which reminded me almost of the Nike VaporMax technology, but not as stacked. So on the lateral side, you can see we have 5 distinct pods, which are sandwiched in combination with the Abzorb foam above it and beneath it. And these pods have a very exaggerated look. They basically protrude out of the shoe, which is definitely not your typical conservative New Balance design. And then for the bottom of the shoe, so we have these black rubber pods, which sit underneath the Abzorb SBS. So these are all segmented, which gives it a little bit more flexibility. And you can see the foam itself that sits right above the rubber. We also have New Balance's Stability Web technology. This is a gray TPU shank plate, which gives you torsional rigidity and midfoot support, and it actually wraps up and onto the midfoot of the shoe, giving you more containment around the middle area of your foot. So that breaks down the look and the construction of this pair. And for those wondering about how these fit, so I had no idea how these were gonna run, so I took a chance, got these in my true size, and I have to say these are a pretty snug fitting sneaker. So I'm a true size 10, my feet are a little bit on the wider side, meaning I'm in between a D and an E width, so slightly wide. So getting these in a size 10, I felt like the toe box ran a little narrow and it was a little bit shallow too. I thought that by loosening up the laces and wearing these for a few hours that it would break in and accommodate the width of my feet, but unfortunately, after a full day's wear of this shoe, it left my feet feeling pretty achy and pretty uncomfortable. So my conclusion is that if you have a narrow or normal width foot, you could go true to size in these, but if your feet are even a little wide or extremely wide, I'd recommend just staying away from the silhouette. It's really not the most forgiving for wide footers. I just felt like my toes were all just cramped together in a very narrow spot. And to me, I felt like these ran more narrow than other models like the 860 V2, 1906, 2002R. All of those I go true to size in, but these were noticeably more narrow than those. I feel like if I was to go up half a size, which I basically never do for New Balance shoes, it would have given me more room from a width perspective, but then the length of the shoe would have probably ran a little bit too long for my liking. But if I ever find these in a store and they're sitting and they have a size 10.5, I'm probably gonna try it on just to see how the half size up would fit in comparison. Moving on to the comfort, so these honestly weren't the most comfortable model out there. I was expecting something a little softer underfoot, but after wearing these for an entire day, I feel like the cushioning is a little bit more on the firmer side. When I compare this to, for example, a Nike Vapor Max, I feel like the Vapor Max is a little bit more unstable. It is higher off the ground, whereas these ones give you a little bit more structure, a little bit more stability and support. The transition as well from heel to toe wasn't bad, so it didn't really feel clunky, even though it looks very beefy and the midsole looks very busy and exaggerated. It had a decent transition from heel to toe. It's just if you're looking for a shoe that's a little bit more on the softer side, this unfortunately is not going to be it. If my feet just weren't so wide, I feel like it would have been a lot more comfortable. I was just dealing with the pressure points all throughout the day around the toe box area. But the underfoot feeling I thought was okay. Finally, in terms of the quality and the craftsmanship, so first off, material quality on the shoe was all just synthetic materials. It's a callback to that Y2K design style, so we have a bunch of meshes, synthetic overlays, synthetic leathers, reflective panels, so nothing on the shoe screamed premium materials, but I thought the build of the shoe was okay. This shoe for the most part is free of stitching, but any areas that had stitching, I didn't have any issues with. It was free of any glue stains, so all in all, I thought this was pretty well built. It just didn't wow me from a material standpoint, but I was fully expecting that going into buying this shoe. So with all of that out of the way now, let's toss these on feet. I'll lace them up and I'll show you guys how these look. All in all, I really wanted to like this model, and I think from a design standpoint, it still looks really dope. Seeing it on shelves and seeing it on other people's feet, I'm a fan of the design of this 2000 model. It's just for me, it's really uncomfortable for my toes, and it's not really a silhouette I can see myself wearing because throughout the day I was just wondering whether the shoe was gonna break in and whether the pain and the pressure around my toes was gonna subside. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, it didn't. So unless I magically try on a half size up and they fit a lot better, I don't really see myself buying an Abzorb 2000 anymore in the future. But your mileage may vary, everyone's feet are gonna be different. Again, if you have a narrow or normal width foot, I feel like the experience would be entirely different. So don't write this model off entirely before you try it first. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I'll link my social media accounts down below for you guys to check out and give me a follow there as well. And again, thank you for your continued love and support. Appreciate the love, the comments, the views, all that stuff. It really keeps this channel going. So thank you again, and I'll catch everybody in my next video.